Hey everybody, Mike here with another edition of Making Sense of Transformers, a series where I talk about various topics about the Transformers movies that need a little extra analysis and explanation. Recently I did a video about Megatron and the history behind the D16 name. While it isn't used often in Transformers lore, it has a pretty interesting backstory, so be sure to check out that video. Now, the Orion Pax name is a lot more common, with its first reference being all the way back in G1, with Orion referencing the mythological Greek hunter and Pax being Latin for peace. Orion was pretty much Optimus Prime's name before he became a Prime and the leader we all know and love. And with the upcoming Transformers 1 heavily featuring the Orion name, I thought it'd be a great idea to dive into the history of this name as well. So what's the story behind Optimus Prime's original name? Let's find out. So there are of course a lot of Transformers stories out there, but for this episode we're going to focus on 3. Generation 1, IDW, and Aligned. Before we begin, it's worthy to note that there isn't a true canon explanation as to why Optimus Prime has a true name in Orion Pax, while other Transformers such as Bumblebee and Megatron have numbers in theirs, B127 and D16 respectively.
Badassatron. We're gonna call you B.
However, those names with numbers were first conceptualized later, while Orion Pax was first used in Generation 1.
I'm Megatron! What's your name?
Orion.
Interestingly, the G1 origins of Orion Pax revolved around the use of time travel. Megatron sent a group of aerial bots back in time to trap them in nothingness, but they ended up traveling millions of years ago to when Optimus Prime was simply a storage dock worker named Orion. Also by his side was his girlfriend Ariel, who we now know as Elita 1. While Orion looked up to Megatron and a new squad of flying Decepticons, Megatron betrayed Orion's kindness, killing both Orion and Ariel. While the aerial bots had no clue that Orion would later turn into Optimus Prime, they still quickly took him to Alpha Trion, who was trying to rebuild Transformers into warriors. Alpha Trion completely rebuilt Orion from scratch and named him Optimus Prime. He then also did the same to Ariel, naming her Elita 1. And it turns out Megatron was basically his own downfall, as it seems like if he never sent the aerial bots back in time, Optimus would have never been there to foil his plans. A pretty interesting loop.
Are you still mad at me for killing you?
Now in the IDW comic series, Orion's origins were a little different, even if the story ends in a similar fashion. Orion began as a Cybertronian police officer and helped a lowly miner D16, aka Megatron, after he was arrested. He even urged a restless D16 to continue trying to peacefully create positive change on Cybertron. Unfortunately, D16 found that the strategy of peacefulness wouldn't do anything and began down a very dark path. However, Orion quickly found out the government he was working for wasn't so great after all, and Zeta Prime attempted to have him killed. He decided to team up with Megatron to take down Zeta, but after Megatron killed Zeta, he then proceeded to shoot Orion in the back. Luckily, Orion was led to the Matrix of Leadership, which repaired him and turned him into Optimus Prime. Finally, we have the Aligned continuity, and as we've discussed in some recent videos, this was intended to be a loose connection of multiple pieces of media that stretched across the Cybertron video games, multiple books and comics, Transformers Prime, Robots in Disguise, and even Rescue Bots. This version of Orion was a data clerk or librarian, and like D16, he wanted a better Cybertronian society, one without the cruel caste system that D16 had fallen victim to. Now D16, who became Megatron, and Orion communicated about a better Cybertron, and it eventually led to them both appearing before the High Council. However, to Megatron's dismay, the Council heard Orion's words and declared him a Prime, Optimus Prime, while Megatron was left with nothing, and then the war began. Now, Transformers 1 seems to be following more of an aligned approach to the origin of these characters, so it'll be interesting to see how this conflict will begin. However, we do know that both Orion and D16 will both begin as worker bots, and Alpha Trion will be the one to give them their ability to transform. How will that play out? We'll have to wait until September to see. Now I hope you enjoyed this dive into the origins of Orion Pax, and make sure to subscribe for more Transformers history and theories. See you next time.